Hello children, welcome to biology session, ninth class biology, and we are in the chapter 5 biodiversity. Welcome to session 3. In previous classes, we come to know that we are going to observe many variations among flora and fauna, lot of changes around the organisms in the nature. We know that Earth is a biosphere where we are going to see immense variations in habitats, climatic conditions, and the variations in flora and fauna, and that leads to classification. In previous sessions, we are trying to know how the organisms has been classified into prokaryotic, eukaryotic, plant kingdoms, animal kingdoms, porifera, protista, monerans, and so far we are trying to understand the various characteristics and various about the various organisms and their classification. And today in this session, let us know much about animal classification and how the animals are grouped based on their characteristics. In animals, we are going to observe majorly two phyla. The total animal kingdom has been classified into two phyla, invertebrates and vertebrates. Now coming to animal classification, basically the characteristics which we are going to see in animals, these are eukaryotic, multicellular, heterotrophic. That means eukaryotic, the cell possesses a true nucleus. Multicellular, the organisms have more than one cell, and these are heterotrophic. Animals cannot synthesize their own food. They depend upon the other living organisms for their food. Hence, we are going to call them as heterotrophic organisms. And most of organisms are motile. They move from one place to another place. They show locomotion. These are classified on the basis of their body organization, and animals are divided into two major phylums, that is invertebrates and vertebrates. Now let us see what are the phylums invertebrate and vertebrate have. So animals are divided into two major groups. Here invertebrates, I said you before, invertebrates are the organisms which do not have a backbone. Invertebrates are the organisms which do not have a vertebral column or a backbone and can also be called as non-chordates. That means the non-chordates, that means the chordate is absent. So these are termed as invertebrates or non-chordates, and non-chordates is further classified into 8 subphyla. Here you can see on the board 8 subphyla we are going to observe, and in today's chapter we are going to deal with these 8 subphylums, Porifera, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, Nematihelminthes can also be called as Nematoda, and Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata. Here the Annelida spelling has went wrong. So invertebrates are further classified into 8 subphylums: Porifera, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, Nematihelminthes, Annelidans, arthropods, molluscans, and Echinodermata. So in this session, let us know the characteristics which we are going to see in Porifera, right from Poriferans to Echinodermata, and what are the examples for these phylums. Now coming to Porifera, Porifera means the word porifera means the organisms shows pores on their body. The body is totally having a pores on it, and these organisms are non-motile. These organisms are non-motile. That means they are attached to some solid particles, and all these pores on the organisms leads into a canal system that help in circulating food and oxygen. The outer layer of body is covered with the spicules. The spicules are going to act as a skeletons. These are multicellular organisms, and they are commonly called as, a common example for this is sponges. The other examples are Euliptilla, Cycon, Spongilla, or the other examples of this porifera. They are mainly poriferans. They are mainly observed in marine habitats. So these are some characteristics of poriferans. Here you can observe sponges which have holes on its body. All the holes, all the pores are going to develop into canals which are going to circulate food and oxygen. These are the other examples for porifera. Now coming into Coelenterata. Coelenterata can also be called as cnidarians. These are the aquatic forms. A most well-known example for Coelenterata, always we instantly take a hydra as a example for coelenterates. These are aquatic forms. Coelenterates, and here you can see on the board the characteristics of coelenterates. The body is made up of with two layers of cells. The outer cells forms the outer layer. The inner layer is formed by the inner cells. There is a gastrovascular cavity present in the body. And some organisms belonging to the Coelenterata can live freely. Some of the organisms are lived in colonies or in the groups. Example, corals. Corals always lives in colonies, and such a colonies are called as coral reefs. And a good examples of Coelenterata, always we are taking hydra, jellyfish, sea anemones are some of the examples for Coelenterata. They are the aquatic form, live in marine water, and show more body design differentiation when compared to the poriferans. These Coelenterata group of organisms are also called as cnidarians because they have a specialized cells called as cnidoblast. Coelenterata is a word derived from the ancient Greek, and usually most of them are attached to the rocks at the bottom of a sea, and multicellular, simplest invertebrates animals. They found in colonies or solitary, and some examples are moon jelly, Portuguese man of war, helmet jellyfish, or the examples of phylum Coelenterata. And here you can see the hydra, and this is a jellyfish. You can observe the other examples for cnidarians. And now let's move on to the next phylum, that is Platyhelminthes. We are observing the invertebrate classification. First one is porifera, second one is Coelenterata, and coming to the third one is Platyhelminthes. And here you can observe The example, and this example which we are seeing the beside here, this picture is related to planaria, it also called as Fasciola hepatica. And here the body of these animals is much complex, and examples of platyhelminthes is tapeworm or flatworm. The body is, now let us jump into the characteristics of this particular phylum. There are advanced diploblastic or lower triploblastic organisms. Acoelomatic and bilateral symmetry is observed. Body is elongated, dorsoventrally flattened, soft, tape-like structure or a ribbon-like structure. Mostly are parasitic and some are free-living. The body shows, and children, you have to know the terminology diploblastic, having a two layered cells, and acoelomate, true coelom is absent, and bilaterally symmetrical, that means the left parts of a body and the right parts of the body are similar, look similar, and hence we are going to call it as bilaterally symmetrical. Well developed organs are accommodated inside the body cavity. And some of these organisms belonging to platyhelminthes lead a parasitic mode of life. Example, liver flukes and tapeworms, which can also cause diseases. And these are characteristics in platyhelminthes. Now moving on to another phylum, that is nematoda. Nematoda can also be called as nematihelminthes. And in nematoda, the organism body is also bilaterally symmetrical and triploblastic, showing a three-layered body. And here the body is cylindrical in the shape, whereas in the platyhelminthes is flattened ribbon-like shape. In nematoda, it is cylindrical in shape, and pseudocoelom is present. They are very familiar, leading as a parasitic life, causes diseases. Elephantiasis is a disease caused by the filarial worms belonging to the nematihelminthes. We observe roundworms and pinworms, which are going to stick to the intestine and lead a parasitic mode of life, causing a various diseases. And here is a structure of filarial worm. You can observe the cylindrical in the shape, or you can also see the hookworms, which is having a hook which is going to attach to a intestine and lead a parasitic mode of life. Next, coming to annelidans. A good example always we take is an earthworm. Also leeches. Leeches also can be comes under the annelidans. Annelidan animals also show bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic. They have a true body cavity. The true organs are to be protected in the body. There is extensive body differentiation is observed. The body shows the segmentations. Animals are found in variety of habitats. Some of them live in fresh water, some of them live in marine water, as well as on land also. And a good examples always we can take is earthworm and leeches. And now coming on to, this is a leech, you can observe. And next phylum is Arthropoda. Arthropoda name itself indicates ortho, jointed, poda means legs. These group of organisms possess jointed legs, where you can see the housefly here. It shows a jointed legs and number of pairs we can observe in these organisms. Insects. It could also be called as an insect family. Now the Arthropoda, the largest group of animals. These animals are bilaterally symmetrical and segmented. You can observe further examples here. Butterfly, a beetle, and there is an open circulatory system. The blood does not flow in well-defined blood vessels. They directly flow among the tissue because open type of circulatory system. And the coelomic cavity is filled with the blood. They have jointed legs. Some familiar examples we are going to see is prawn, cockroach, scorpion, butterflies, houseflies, spiders, beetles. All these are the grasshoppers are good examples for arthropoda. And now let on moves on to another phylum of invertebrates is mollusca. Here the molluscans show bilaterally symmetry. The coelomic cavity is reduced. There is a little segmentation. They have an open circulatory system and kidney-like organs perform excretion. There is a food that is used for moving around, and examples are snails. These are the mussels which you are going to see here in the slide, and the other examples, snail and squids, are the examples that are belonging to the mollusca. Now let us move on to the last phylum of invertebrates, that is echinodermata. The example is starfish. Echino means spine-like structures. Dermata means skin. The skin is covered with the spines. That's the reason why the phylum is called as echinodermata. It is a Greek word. They are free-living marine animals, triproblastic, and have a coelomic cavity. They have hard calcium carbonate structures which are going to act as a skeletons. And a good examples always we are going to take is sea urchins, starfish. And here you can see this. And in this session, just we try to understand about the invertebrates and their phylums. Invertebrate possess the phylums Porifera, Silterata, Platyhelminthes, Nematihelminthes, Annelidans, Arthropod, Mollusca, and Echinodermata. And after that, we have to move into vertebrate classification. So, as usually in the earlier I said you, total animal domain is classified into two phylums, invertebrates and vertebrates. And invertebrates we have seen further subphylums Porifera to Echinodermata. And now let us move on to the characteristics of vertebrates in coming session. After invertebrates, the highly developed animals are classified into vertebrates. That means the vertebrate possess a black backbone or a vertebral column, and that can be given information in the next coming session. Thank you. Hello children, welcome to biology session. Today let us see into chapter 5, biodiversity, session 5. So far we completed in earlier sessions the classification, the characteristics of invertebrates, the characteristics of lower plants, and the characteristics of higher plants. And today in this session, let us know much more about the highly developed animals that are vertebrates. And in earlier I said you that the vertebrates are grouped into 5 classes, and let us see the 5 classes today. So here, adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. So from the nature we have to learn patience, and this was given by Emerson. And now let us jump into the characteristics of chordates. Children, chordates can also be called as vertebrates. The organisms which are under the group of vertebrates, they possess backbone, or we can also say they possess vertebral column. And let us see what are the familiar characteristics which are present in vertebrates. Yeah, notochord is present, dorsal nerve cord is present, and these are triploblastic organisms. We are going to see paired gill pouches and coelomates, and they also have a caudal fin. So these are some of the characteristics or prominent characteristics which we are going to see in various vertebrates. And now, vertebrates. These animals have 2 vertebral column and internal skeleton. Vertebrates are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, coelomic, and segmented organisms. So children, I think you are familiar with the terminology bilaterally symmetrical. Bilaterally symmetrical means a left and a right side organs appears to be similar. Triploblastic, 3-layer structure, true coelomic cavity is going to be present, and the body in some of the vertebrates is segmented. So these are the prominent features of vertebrates. And in these vertebrates, we are going to see 5 classes. One is spices, one is amphibians, one is reptiles, the other one is aves, and the last one is mammals. And now let us see the characteristics of spices, amphibians, reptiles, aves, and mammals. And now moving on to, here you can see vertebrate is grouped into 5 classes: spices, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. And here fish comes under spices, a crocodile comes under reptiles, and a monkey here, it comes under mammals. So these are the few illustrations were given here, and let us move on to the next. Spices, amphibians. I said you earlier the vertebrates are grouped into 5 classes. The spices is one, the amphibians is one, and the reptiles is one. These 3 in a 5 classes, spices, amphibians, reptiles, these 3 have a cold-blooded. So these 3 are examples for poikilothermal animals. A fish comes under spices. A clotis comes under reptiles. Frog comes under amphibians. So the 3 are examples of poikilothermal animals. Poikilothermal animals means they are cool-blooded animals. Cool-blooded animals. And here you're going to see a deer and bird. These 2 comes under, the bird comes under aves and a deer comes under the mammals. And aves and mammals are homeothermic animals. That means the warm-blooded animals. These are the basic characteristics which we are going to see in the invertebrates. And among the 5 classes, spices, amphibians, reptiles, aves, and mammals, we are going to observe 2 kind-blooded animals, that is cold-blooded animals and warm-blooded animals. Cold-blooded animals examples we are going to see from pisces, amphibians and reptiles. Warm-blooded animals are aves and mammals. And now coming to the other characteristics of pisces. Always the fish belong to this class. These are two-chambered. Heart is having only two chambers. Cold-blooded animals, and they have fin and tails. We observe the caudal fins, which is a notable characteristics of vertebrates. So in the fishes, we are going to observe the fins and tails, and they have a pair, breathe through the gills, and gill pouches are going to be observed in the pisces. So all the fishes comes under this class, pisces. So fishes are much highly developed than invertebrate organisms. The next class is amphibia, amphibians. Amphibians means, the exact meaning of this is the organisms can survive in two different habitats. They can live on land as well as in water. So in amphibians are better developed than pisces. So here in the amphibia we are going to see three-chambered heart. The first vertebrates can live both on land and water. Hence we are going to call them as amphibians. These are cool-blooded animals which we are going to treat as poikilothermic animals. Hibernate during winter, that is called as hibernation. Estivation during summer sleep, that is called as an estivation. Hibernation during winter and estivation during summer we are going to observe in frog. So these are the some prime characteristics of class amphibia. And they have the slimy skin. Slimy skin means the skin is very moistured. The skin is provided with a lot of blood vessels and is always moistured. So when we touch it, it's very smooth and slimy to touch. They lay eggs. And now coming to reptiles. The next class is reptiles. In the reptiles, we are going to see here the examples are there: snake, tortoise, lizard. Apart from this, crocodile, tortoise, chameleon, varanus, all these are the examples for reptiles which you might have observed in your surroundings. So children, I think you know various examples for reptiles, and now let us see some of the few characteristics over here. They have a very dry skin and a scaly skin. They lay eggs, and some of the reptiles we are going to see the viviparous also, and here they breathe through lungs. And there are the poikilothermic animals. Poikilothermic animals means, I said you earlier, cold-blooded animals. These are three-chambered heart only, but the fourth chambered is incompletely divided. Even though there is a presence of fourth chamber, it is incompletely divided. So some mention it as a 3.5 chambered, but we have to mention it as a three-chambered heart, incompletely divided fourth-chambered heart. We are going to see in reptiles, whereas in the pisces, two-chambered heart. In the amphibians, three-chambered heart. In the reptiles, three-chambered, fourth chambered is incompletely divided. So I think the a betterment of the characteristics from the pisces, when we move towards the mammals, we are going to see well body organization and well development of organs. So these reptiles are three chambered, fourth chambered is incompletely divided, but here the crocodiles which belongs to the reptiles shows four chambered heart. Now next class is birds, which comes under aves, and they have feathers, two wings, claws, and they are the oviparous organisms. They lay the eggs, and they are the homothermic animals. That means they are the warm-blooded animals. And children, As a part of an activity, collect much more characteristics of these classes. And next class is mammals. Mammals are four-chambered, highly developed vertebrates. They consisting of mammary glands, a fur or a hair we are going to observe on the skin, the middle ear bones. In the middle of the ear, the bones are present, which is a prominent characteristics of the mammals. And the mammals further, we are going to group them into 5 to 6 groups, calling them as marsupials. Marsupials are nothing but kangaroos, which have the pouches near their abdomen and to carry the immature babies. So the example for marsupials is kangaroos. And the primates example is monkeys and chimpanzees, all that comes under the primates. And the primates show imitation behavior much. And rodents are nothing but a rabbit. Rabbits comes under rodents, which have incisors, very well strong incisors are present in the rodents. And the next one is marine mammals, the mammals which are living in the aquatic habitats, a whale, a dolphin. All these are examples for marine mammals. And the next one is flying mammals. Flying mammals, we have a good example is a bat. Bat is a example for belonging to the mammals, and it is example for a flying mammal. So marsupials, primates, rodents, marine mammals, flying mammals. So all these are belonging to the mammals, and all the characteristics which we have just now learned, we are going to see in the mammals. So here you can observe marsupials, marine mammals, rodents, flying mammals, and primates. So all these are the organisms which belonging to the mammals. So the mammals are highly developed organisms in vertebrates. So as we come to know that the pisces, and next to the pisces, amphibians, after amphibians, reptiles, after reptiles, aves, after aves, mammals occupies the place, and these are highly developed organisms. And children, that said, we have come to know a few characteristics of vertebrates, prime characteristics of vertebrates, and you better collect some more information from your books and add a note for this session. And before winding up the session, let us save wildlife. Thank you, children, and that's it in this session.